morning, everyone. Thank you all for being here. We've been associated with TAG for over 3 years, and Tino Mantella and the TAG board has done a fantastic job. We are very proud to be a platinum sponsor for the Georgia Technology Summit. Sun Technologies is a trusted IT service provider and offshore solutions. We've been in business since 1996. We have built a global organization that specializes in IT services. So it gives me great pleasure to introduce our next speaker, Terry Jones, prominent internet expert and has an impressive track record of leading companies whose innovations have changed an entire industry. Terry is the founder of Travelocity.com, which expanded from a team of 10 into a multi-billion-dollar public company. Later, he became the founding chairman of Kayak.com, a different travel website that grew to the size of Priceline in only 3 years. As a consultant, Terry has helped companies utilize unique tools and techniques he developed in order to keep up with the challenges of constantly changing world. Today, he is here to share and discuss his unique perspective on innovations in the workplace. Please join me in welcoming Terry Jones to the stage.
Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen, and good morning. It's great to be here in Atlanta. Although I live in Lake Tahoe in Nevada, I've been here over 45 times in the last several years, being on the board of Earthlink, so it's nice to be back. It's nice to be with so many technology people, and as I noticed this morning, so many technology salespeople. So I'm going to announce that I sold Kayak.com. I am not a prospect, okay? But you know, I had a really interesting career. I started my career as a travel agent. And I was a travel agent for many years, and then I jumped into technology, and I worked at American Airlines, principally in the Sabre division, where our goal was to automate travel agents. And while I was there, we started Travelocity.com, and we grew that company, and its principal aim was to put travel agents out of business. And then after that, I went to Kayak.com, and our goal was to put Travelocity, Expedia, and Orbitz out of business. And now I'm starting a third company, and I'm not going to tell you what it is, but you can guess what it might do. So I've been involved in innovation and change for a long time. And what I want to talk about today is turning on innovation. Turning on innovation in your culture, in your teams, really in your whole organization. Now, why discuss innovation? Why should we really talk about it today? Well, because the pace of change is not abated. If anything, it's accelerating. And I was thinking about that when I saw this picture in the paper the other day, Cincinnati in 1848. And you could see the steamships tied up along the wharf there. And I thought about how quickly those steamships were eliminated when the diesel engine came into widespread use and the Intercontinental Railway was completed. They vanished almost overnight. But it's not just the steamships you have to think about. If you zoom in on this photograph, you're going to see the steamboat repair shop, the boiler yard, the steamship paint shop. It's not just your business. It's those things upstream and downstream from you that can be affected as well. So that's why it's important to talk about innovation. I saw this graph the other day. What senior executives expect to change their business over the next 5 years. It's not global economic power, it's not climate change, it is technology. It is what all of us in this room are working on that senior executives expect will change their business. The world used to be pretty simple. You know, marketing drove them to the door, sales closed the deal, and IT added it up. That was business. It was pretty easy. In those days, marketing was a one-way street, the brand shouting at you. And marketing was TV and mass and cool and all about the madmen, right? And IT was about keeping the books and running the reports and adding up sales, and let's face it, it was kind of dorky, right? And things have changed. Marketing is now a two-way street. Customers are involved and engaged and talking back through blogs and wikis and social media. Marketing is about digital and social and mobile. CMOs will buy more IT than CIOs by 2017, says Gartner. And IT, well, now we're collaboratively designing solutions for new customers on multiple platforms. Things have gotten a lot more complicated. Competition has gone from the traditional war, Coke versus Pepsi, to a bar fight. Who is my competitor again? Is it Google, the distributor, the manufacturer, Amazon, the review site? All of them? Maybe. Distribution used to be pretty simple. We all knew our customer. Now distribution is very complex as we have so many channels to reach out and touch the customer. So do you think things are moving faster? I don't know about you. When I get up in the morning, I feel kind of like that guy on the rocket sled, you know, that guy whose face is being peeled back by the force of change. It's just like, wow, it's really moving. I'll tell you how much faster it's moving. I'm a student of history. My degree is in history. And I read this the other day about the evolution of fishing. Now, the first fishing started 85,000 years ago. That was men with spears. It took 42,000 years to invent the net. Not the internet, but the fishing net, right? It took another 20,000 years to invent the hook. And it wasn't until 6,000 years ago the barbed hook was invented. So that's almost 80,000 years from the spear to the hook. That's the speed that innovation used to move at. But look at the world today. How quickly have we seen the cell phone, the internet, the smartphone, and the tablet, with 40% of Americans getting a tablet in just 4 years. That's the speed of change. Here's another way to look at it. These are people waiting for the announcement of the new pope in 2005. Here they are in 2013. A little bit of technical change? Yeah, just a bit. Think of what these words mean to your mother and what they mean to you. Share, cookie, scale, app, boot, like, sync, tablet, flame. They've all changed. They're all verbs now. Our language has changed. The way we approach the world has changed. It's moving so fast you might be taken in by the Doppler effect. Now, that's not the Doppler effect. This is the Doppler effect. The Doppler effect is that na-na-na-na-na-na-na, you know, as the siren goes by. This is the Doppler effect, which is the tendency of stupid ideas to seem smarter when they come at you rapidly. And we had a lot of those in the internet era, you know, I lived through that. And the biggest change, of course, is that consumers have new tools in their tool bag, and those tools are the mouse and the smartphone. We were just hearing about payments with smartphones. It changed the way we discover products, learn more about them, shop for them, buy them, get service on them, and rave or complain about them. And that was brought home to me recently. I was at a conference like this one. I was at the cocktail party like the one some of us were at last night. And a woman came up to me and said, "Are you that guy who started Travelocity.com?" I said, "Yes, ma'am." She said, "I want to tell you something about Travelocity you've never heard before." And I'm backing up wondering how many martinis she's had and just what she was going to say. And she said, "Travelocity is the Wizard of Oz." I said, "It is?" She said, "Yeah, you know, for years, I was afraid to make my own reservation. My travel agent told me I'd ruin my vacation. And today I made my first booking. And it was so simple. And I felt just like Dorothy when she gathered up her courage and pulled that curtain aside and discovered there wasn't a wizard. There was just a little guy back there. And I realized I could do it all myself." So many of our customers are like that today. They are wired and dangerous. They are comfortable and confident. And what they expect from our site is what they have seen on the very best site they've ever been to. As customers get smarter, they get harder to catch. So maybe some of your bosses continue to focus on costs. Maybe some of them tell you, never ever think outside the box. Only the cat shouldn't think outside the box. But we need a better mousetrap. And that needs to be driven by innovation. This quote was in the Harvard Business Review at the height of the internet bubble. Somewhere out there is a bullet with your name on it, shot by a competitor unknown and unborn, that will render your business obsolete. I don't think that really happened. But if you change one word and say business model obsolete, perhaps that did happen. Now, I grew up in a small town. We had one bookstore, one record store, one movie theater. We read the classifieds, used the yellow pages. We had the encyclopedia at home. And then the mall moved in on the edge of town, and we got Barnes & Noble, Best Buy, Megaplex movie theater, multiple yellow pages. And the first CD-based encyclopedia came out. That was Encarta. Then the online world showed up. We got Amazon, the world's largest bookstore, CD Now, the most CDs. Netflix went after movie theaters, eBay after classifieds. Big Yellow and Encarta went online. Then we moved to the world of speed and convenience. Kindle, iPod, YouTube, Craigslist, Angie's List, Wikipedia. And the last four are user-generated. How'd you like to be Encyclopedia Britannica and keep up with a hobby called Wikipedia? They couldn't. They don't make encyclopedias anymore. And of course, now we're in the mobile and social world. I could read my Kindle app on any device. Spotify tells me the music my friends are listening to. Hulu's after movie theaters. Facebook's after classified. Yelp's a better yellow pages. Google a better encyclopedia. Business models are changing fast. And as General Shinseki said, if you don't like change, you're going to like irrelevance even less. So we have to keep up with the pace of change. The good news is that new opportunities lie where old models are crumbling. Those of us who look at old models like we did with Travelocity and looking at the old model of the travel agent said, hey, there's a new model, a new opportunity. Successful leaders today have to realize their customers are internet-empowered, tech-savvy, time-starved, information-rich. Internet-empowered, tech-savvy, time-starved, information-rich, that's a new kind of customer. It means we have to deal with them in a new way. Somewhere out there, Patrick is the key to increased sales. Find that key, Patrick. Bring it to me. You ever have a boss like that? I did. Bob Crandall at American Airlines, legendary tough guy. And he's sitting there with his arm around me saying these words, and I'm looking out the window, and the window looked like that. I had no idea what I was supposed to do. But you know, at that point in American Airlines history, it was an extremely innovative company. And I thought, well, maybe innovation is the key to my success here at American Airlines. So let's take the steam off the window for a minute and talk specifically about innovation. First, I'd like to define it, and I like this definition. That creativity is about thinking up new things. Innovation is about doing them. It is about putting your idea to work. I'm the holder of 4 patents. I'm very proud of them. They are on my wall in my office. But that's all they are on my wall. They're not innovations. Because the company I worked for at the time never reduced them to products. They don't count. Innovation is about doing new things. And if you've correctly explained your vision and mission and strategy and action plan to your employees, they're not the 3 blind mice. They probably get it, you know. They understand the size of the opportunity that's in front of Georgia's technology companies. And some get it no matter how hard it is. We all have superstars. This is the Tom Cruise of mice, right? He's going to get that piece of cheese. And we all have the salespeople that can make the sale. They just can't get it implemented. You know, they can't figure it out. Can't bring it home. But the problem with innovation in most companies is that most people are afraid to go for it. They're afraid of change. They're scared. So if you want success, here's a couple ideas. First of all, I believe that the engine of innovation rests on 2 pillars. The pillar of culture and the pillar of team. If you get culture and team right, you've put the gas in the tank of innovation. Culture is extremely important because, you know, culture eats strategy for lunch. You can have the world's best strategy, but if the culture doesn't agree with it, it'll eat it. It'll take it away. You won't move forward. unless you have a very strong culture of innovation, a culture where an idea can exist, a culture where that light of innovation can burn brightly. Because innovation is just a spark. It's just a tiny little flame, and we're going around the room and we're talking about a new idea, and everybody's excited, and somebody says, and we could do this, and we could do that, and somebody says, but wait, let me play devil's advocate for just a moment here. Poof, candle goes out. Innovation is not the Olympics. In the Olympics, you train from when you're 10 to when you're 18. You have 1 6-minute run down the mountain. You come in fourth out of the medals. Your career is over. No, innovation is like baseball. And in baseball, if you fail 70% of the time, you're actually quite good, right? You get a lot of chances in baseball. You get a lot of time. Success isn't permanent. Failure isn't fatal, said Mike Ditka. So one of the keys here is to build a culture of experimentation, a culture where people can experiment, and yes, when they could fail. So you know, if you watch Mad Men in the ad business, they're writers and they're editors. The writers write, the editors pick. Be an editor for a moment. These are 4 ads from the last political campaign. Have about the same number of words, the same colors. Which one worked best? Well, it wasn't this one, and it wasn't these 2. This one actually pulled in 35% more dollars than the other 3. Did they have a genius editor? No, they experimented. They ran all 4 for an hour and let the customer decide. 20% of what you see at Kayak every day is a test. We are constantly testing, constantly failing, constantly changing. So don't write, we will never change in the concrete outside your building. Write, we experiment in the sand. Let the water come, wash it away, and write it again. And when you fail, and I hope you do, because if you don't fail, you're not experimenting enough, kill the project, not the person. Kill the project, not the person. You know, early on at Travelocity, I built this CD-ROM product, virtually there. It had movies of the Caribbean because in those days of 1,200 baud modems, we couldn't send video over the internet. I spent $1 million getting it out in the stores. And I lost $1 million getting it out in the stores. It was a total abject failure. And I had to go to my boss, the CFO at American Airlines, tell him I lost $1 million. I was scared. You know what he said? He said, Terry, what did you learn? Well, the word spread like wildfire. Terry didn't get fired, right? But also that this guy was a coach. And coaches don't just throw people off the team, they work to make the team better. That one act by that executive went a long way toward changing our culture. We allow failure and harvest learning, says Scott Cook in Intuit. We allow failure and harvest learning. How many of you do that? How many of you harvest learning from your failures? You can learn as much, if not more, than from your successes. You ever say this in business? Do it right the first time. Well, if you say do it right the first time, but many people say do it right the first time, like a threat, right? But that's not what sports teams do. They watch the films. They watch this fumble over and over again, not to assess blame, but to improve the team so they can be victorious next time. Watch and learn from your failures. And as a leader, you have to realize your wake is larger than you imagine. As you move through your company, you leave this wake behind you. It consists of what you say and do, right? So if somebody has a new idea, are you the kind of person who says, well, interesting, but we've always done it this way, and you know, we've actually never done it that way? What do you think happens when you say that? The air just goes out of the room. Do you support, amplify, and concur? Or do you disagree, minimize, and play devil's advocate? What you say has a great deal to do with the kind of culture you will engender in your business. And you know, the world is changing fast. You have to face your fears. Established organizations many times view disruption as a threat rather than saying, you know, how could we do that? We have the resources, we have the brand, we have the smart people. We don't have to be scared of 2 guys and a dog in a startup in Silicon Valley. But sometimes you view it as a threat instead of taking their idea and being inspired by it and going on to change the world yourself. Culture's a contact sport. It is not easy to change culture. But if you lead and if you're open and if you think about the words you use and watch your actions, because everybody watches your wake, you can begin changing your culture. Now, you also have to build the right team. It's really all about the team. And I think this new world requires old world knowledge mixed with youthful exuberance. So at Travelocity, I wanted to hire a bunch of young people from outside American Airlines. And HR told me I couldn't do that because at American, you had to come in from the bottom in reservations or at the airport. And I finally won that battle. And I brought in a whole bunch of young people from outside of travel. And they were great. They had a lot of energy, messianic zeal. They knew the industry was broken, only they could fix it. But they didn't have any industry knowledge nor any industry contacts. On the other side, I had the .corp, or you might say the .corps. I had the suits who said the industry was fine, it didn't need fixing. They worked at a slow pace, but they had domain expertise, they knew travel. Now you put them together, they fought like cats in a bag. It was nuts. But out of that crucible came Travelocity. So it's very important to bring in different perspectives, different points of view. Different perspectives can help you change yourself and help you change the culture. Don Merrill, the former CIO at Google, says the more perspectives you have, the more likely you're going to win. I think it's really important. Because if everybody in your group is exactly like you, you're going to get exactly what you already got. And you know, the young people complain that we have to teach those old dogs new tricks, and that's true, but you know, you have to teach puppies old tricks anyway. So you have to teach each other. And I think you should hire people who don't fit in, people who aren't like you. Would you hire this cat? Eh? He did become the world's richest man. And I got to know him very well, because he used to come down to American a lot. And wickedly smart, very insightful, and just a little odd. You might not have hired Bill Gates, and you would have been wrong. So hire people who aren't exactly like you. The world wants geniuses. It just wants them to behave like other people. Problem is they don't. They're hard to manage, but they will give you amazing, amazing results. And I learned at Kayak that rock stars hang out with rock stars. The CTO at Kayak is the best hiring manager I have ever met. He will go anywhere in the world to hire a fantastic engineer that he's heard about. And what started to happen at Kayak after he got 2 or 3 rock stars, he didn't have to work so hard to hire. The other guys wanted to be there because they knew if those 3 guys were there, this company is going to change the world. They kind of hired themselves. They came in and said, we'd like to join. So really spend time on hiring fabulous people. It makes a huge difference. And really work on moving negative people out of your area of innovation. Negativity can wipe out innovation. My general manager at Travelocity used to say that negative people are energy vampires. They take the energy out of a room. And you can't afford that when you're innovating. So move the negative people on. Some people will leave anyway. They won't like the size, they won't like the pace, they won't like the new model. That's okay. That's good for you, that's good for them. By the way, I see some of you taking notes, and I'm happy to see that. I will give you a URL at the end where you can get these slides, okay? So look for it at the end of the speech. Now, can one person in your company make a difference, good or bad? Well, I think one person can make a huge difference. You know, at Travelocity, one persistent guy beat us. One guy went to the boss, Expedia, and said, we need to do package tours that put air, car, and hotel together at a discount, kind of how you build a Dell computer. Nobody had ever done that in travel before. It took him a year to convince the boss to do it. It took him another year to build the software. When they rolled it out, they doubled their sales in 2 quarters, past Travelocity like we were stopped. Travelocity never caught them. One person can make a huge difference. And keep your innovation team small. Amazon has a great rule, 2 pizza teams. If it takes more than 2 pizzas to feed the team lunch, the team is too big. It's real easy. Everybody here can remember that. Big teams don't innovate, little teams do. And little teams keep your agility. And it's important to be agile and move around because, as the CEO of Panera Bread said, when your company gets big, your delivery muscle gets a whole lot bigger than your discovery muscle. You know, we get really good at doing the same thing over and over again, and we're not very good at discovering the new things we ought to be doing. So make sure your delivery muscle gets a workout and you're agile enough to keep up by having small teams who have strong discovery muscles. So if culture and team are working, then you're a long way. Now, how about generating new ideas? Where do good ideas originate? Do they come from the CEO? Well, I think they used to, because the CEO had all the information. You know, at American Airlines, our stuff would go up and up and up to the CEO, and he was already smart, but he had all the information. And Bob Crandall at American Airlines invented the Advantage program, the very first mileage program. Changed the company, changed the industry. So good ideas can come from the top, but today I think they can come from any place on the org chart because everybody has access to information. And it's been my experience the best ideas in a company come from the bottom. The person in customer service, the person on the line, the person at the help desk, the person making the product. We invented flight paging at Travelocity in 1996. Customer service agent got tired of answering the phone, telling people if their flights were on time. She said, couldn't we page people? Nobody had ever done that. So great ideas come from the bottom. Innovation that happens from the top down is orderly, but dumb. Innovation that happens from the bottom up is chaotic, but smart. So you have to reach down as a leader and get those great ideas, and that means breaking through the boson layer. Now, the boson layer is the impenetrable layer of middle management that stops good ideas from moving upward, right? And we all know it exists. It's not really their fault. They haven't been rewarded for change. They're looking up at you and they don't believe you want change. So if you start reaching down, saying, this is Bob's idea, we're going to put it in place, and this is Sally's idea, we're going to try it, and this is George's idea, we tried it, it failed, we're going to give him another chance. If you do that as a leader, the boson layer will quickly go away. Now, you also can have sentries to listen for good ideas. This is World War I radar. They didn't have radar, and they didn't have that product we just saw for healthcare. They had these big earphones that they'd put on to listen for airplanes. You need those to listen for new ideas. I had a phone booth at Travelocity in the hall. If you picked it up, you could listen to customer service. And everybody in the company, from the guy in the mailroom to me, had to listen to 2 customer calls a month, and at staff meeting discuss, 1, what's wrong with our company that we need to fix so people don't have to call with questions? And 2, what terrific ideas did you get from customers that can propel us forward? It got everybody in the company involved in the customer's pain. Now at Kayak.com, we're a search company. We don't have a phone line, but we do get emails. And we send all the emails to the engineers. And you might think that's crazy. Engineers are paid a lot. But our slogan is give the pain to the people who caused that pain. It works. It works. They fix the bugs. They are in touch with what's going on in the business. It really works very well. So get people in touch with what the customer is saying, and then your product can become clay in the customer's hands. Kayak.com is the #1 mobile travel app in the world. Publicly, we have 35 million downloads. We actually have way more than that. Haven't announced it yet. But when we built it, we thought it was about next flight out. We thought it was about a hotel room for tonight. Turns out that is not how customers use it. Their behavior is just like the desktop. They are booking 2.5 weeks out. And if we hadn't listened and changed our product with agility, we never would have become the #1 product. So listen and make your product clay in the customer's hands. Have your eyes wide open. Eat your own dog food. Look at your own product. So many people have their eyes wide shut. How many times have you gone to make a presentation to your boss with a projector and had to put a book under it? How long has this been going on? You can't put the yellow pages there. They don't make them anymore. What is wrong with this company? I can think of 8 ways to fix projectors right now that would make them be a little higher. But apparently these people must, have rooms where they're attached to the ceiling or have little minions who move them around for them. They don't look at their own product. How many times has this happened to you at a cocktail party? These are made by a glue company, for God's sake. What is wrong with these people? They obviously don't use their own product or they don't look at it. Eat your own dog food. Use your own product. You improve it. And then look beyond what's immediately apparent, because your customer will not always tell you what's next. So I had to go to the executive board at American Airlines to propose electronic tickets. And I said, look, our computers are so smart today that we don't need tickets anymore. We don't need to print them, we don't need to distribute them, we don't need to collect them, we don't need to count them. I could save you guys a lot of money. And they said, but Terry, our customers want tickets. What about receipts? They will never accept this idea. Leave us, go from this room. And American was one of the last carriers to put in electronic tickets. And they, now 99% of tickets are E, and they missed the jump to the self-service world where now you just do it on your smartphone, and it totally changed the manning at the airports. Why were they late to the party? Because in real innovation, being comfortable isn't good. You got to be a little uncomfortable. You got to have a feeling in your gut that, I'm not really sure this is going to work. That's good. Go out and try it. Maybe it won't. Maybe you'll fail. Try something else. They weren't ready. Somebody else did it first. You can't be comfortable in real innovation. But can you go with your gut? Can you use a gut feel to do something new? Sure, because intuition is merely the sum of all our experiences. So your intuition is usually pretty good. Just don't bet the farm on it, You might be wrong. That's why I'm such a fan of prototypes. And now they're, particularly in software, tremendous prototyping tools. We can throw something on the internet, call it a beta, let the customer tell us it's any good. We prototyped all kinds of things at Travelocity and Kayak. And now, of course, we're in the world of 3D printers, where people are making amazing prototypes very quickly. And the other day that I read for the very first time, a 3D printer made a 3D printer. Oh, I'm not sure about that, right? But I am a fan of prototypes. In the car business, they always have these concept cars, these concept prototypes. And Steve Jobs said, I go to the car show, I get so excited, I want to buy a prototype, a concept car, but I can't buy it. Why is it 3 years later when they come out, they look like crap? Because they go through a process that doesn't work. He saw phones that look like this and made phones that look like this. How did that work? How did he do that? First of all, he had great clarity of vision. He knew exactly what he wanted when he went from that prototype to the product, and then he focused like crazy on delivering just that. So clarity and focus are key to get your product from that prototype to what you want to deliver. It takes a lot of strength as a leader to make sure the committee doesn't create a car that looks like crap, right? There is more than one right answer. There is more than one right answer. My brother's a National Geographic photographer, and he says this about his pictures all the time. There's more than one right answer. I can take another picture. So here's a right answer. You probably have this security camera around your data center, and it's pretty good. It takes a picture, and then it moves, and takes a picture, and then it moves. Take a picture again, but sometimes this thing's looking over to one side, and the bad guy's over there. It misses it, right? So here's another right answer. Somebody took 6 cell phone cameras and glued them to a block. Take a picture every quarter of a second, puts it together in software. It's another right answer. It probably costs 1/100th of what that other thing costs to make. What do you think the guy in the weatherproof housing department thought of this new idea? What do you think the guy in the motor drive department thought about this idea? They hated it, right? They're not going to have motor drives, weatherproof housings anymore. But the leader had the courage to say, somebody's going to do that. There's another right answer. You've got to be open to those right answers. You got to be open to that change. And when you try to explain your idea, keep it simple. Watch this video for a second. I heard that you had a business plan competition here the other day, and everybody had to present their idea in 3 minutes. You know, we do that for business plan competitions. Do you do it in your office? You should. Make them write it on the whiteboard. You can't write very many words. Boil it down. I don't need a 400-page PowerPoint deck. I want a 3-minute pitch, right? Because if people are always telling you to think outside the box, maybe something is wrong with the box, right? Maybe you need to get totally outside of the box. I see a lot of people with my hairdo here, been around for a while. You guys and gals probably remember when the high jump worked like this. And it was all about getting a little bit higher and getting a little bit higher. And nobody had made it much higher in years until Dick Fosbury came along and said, I'm going to jump backwards. And he raised the bar a whole foot. Sometimes you have to think way outside the box to make it work. Now, if you have that great plethora of ideas that you've generated, how do you select the right one? How do you find the very best idea that's going to create the most revenue? You know, if you look at a supernova down at the planetarium, you're looking at something that happened millions of years ago. How much of your revenue is based on an idea that's 30 or 40 years old? Will it continue? Well, Harvard did a great study about innovation. They said that Fortune 500 companies usually spend on innovation this way. They spend 70% around the core, 20% around adjacent products, and only 10% on really crazy transformational ideas. But when you measure the income that comes in the future from new ideas, 70% of it will come from those 10% radical ideas. So you better have them, you better nurture them, you better keep trying, most of them will fail. Anybody here use a Swiffer mop? See a few hands out there. You know what a Swiffer is? It's a diaper on a stick. Procter & Gamble makes diapers, they make cleaning fluid, they put it on a stick. $1 billion business. Pretty far outside the box, pretty transformational. You know, that's future revenue. Now I want to talk for a minute about, because some of you are in big companies, how to create a large business and a small one. Travelocity, you may not know, was created inside the Sabre division of the multi-billion-dollar American Airlines company. So we weren't a Silicon Valley startup. Now, it's good to be part of a big company. You don't need VCs. You don't need their money. It's easy to get people and computers and offices. You can use their big name to open doors. The bad of big is you don't get venture capitalists. They're pretty smart. And the corporate money comes at a price, which is endless, numbing, choking bureaucracy. Now, we had that at American. I'm sure you don't have that in your companies, but we had a little bit of it. Everybody wants to help with space and data processing and advertising, but unfortunately, they all have their rules, and you have to conform to them. So what do? I have 4 prescriptions. The first one has to do with organizational structure. Remember that corporations are organized in divisions. Divided is the operative word. So many times you'll have a new idea like, gee, we better do something about the internet, and you'll say, let's form a committee. Well, the problem with the committee is everybody on the committee is beholden to their own department, ops to ops, sales to sales, marketing to marketing, IT to IT. Doesn't work very well for a big idea. So sometimes you have to build a separate organization. That's what we did with Travelocity. That's what Best Buy did with the internet. That's what REI did, okay? And then you can build a team culture. Now, we reported to the CEO. He provided substantial air cover for IDEA because few people wanted to help, and his clout was necessary. He supported risk-taking as failure, as you saw before. I was a longtime divisional CEO. I had enough clout to kind of keep things going. So separate organization. Secondly, and surprisingly, location. Think outside the building. I moved Travelocity into a strip mall a couple miles away from American's headquarters. It took me about a year to get everybody in the same building. IT didn't actually want to sit with their customers, gazooks, right? And they finally did. But when everybody was there, they were only thinking about Travelocity. And we had spectacular results. So maybe you have to move out of the building. Steve Jobs said it's better to be a pirate than to join the Navy. Famously, when he went back to Apple, he moved the Macintosh division out of the building so he could build a separate culture. Very, very important. Now, how about staffing? Well, we already talked about mixing it up, different points of view, younger people, older people. Jim Collins said in Built to Last, we found in companies that make good decisions, debate is real. You want real debate. Some people will leave, as I said, because we had a bunch of programmers from American where failure wasn't an option. You don't want programmers who are programming fuel and weight and balance to ever have a bug. But this was the web. We wanted to get it out fast. They couldn't change. They went back to American. That was the right decision. And finally, funding. Our funding was held by the CEO. Although we were in the marketing department, he held the funding. And that was very important because marketing would have stolen all our money to do something else, right? But he said, no, we're going to lose money. And we lost millions and millions of dollars of Travelocity. Eventually, they made $1.5 billion on it. But it had to take the time and have the courage to have the money out of the grubby hands of those who would steal it. So staffing, funding, organization, location. Air cover. Let me repeat, very important. Their big name to open doors, their buying power would help. We stole great people. They had a great legal department that we hid behind when we got in trouble, and we got in trouble a lot, right? But, you know, their purchasing was too slow, their IT was too expensive, their advertising didn't know consumers. So when we asked for stock options to compete with Expedia, well, you got a big picture of that, right? So it was tough. Basically, I ran away from home. I didn't use their PR, HR, advertising, accounting system, and dress code. And luckily, my boss covered me on that. I would go to their staff meetings, but that's all. My job was to provide the air cover to keep Travelocity alive. Much similar as Sylvanga's LED lighting division. When it first started, of course, the light bulb guys hated it. And the leader looked out for somebody to run LED, and he said, I need someone who is a bit of a dreamer who could navigate our system. A bit of a dreamer who could navigate our system. That's what you need to run a new enterprise inside an old one. And I also said you need a separate organization. And we had one, and REI had one, and the woman at REI said, you know, when the internet grew up, we turned the org chart on its side. We turned the org chart on its side and poured the internet in, made everybody responsible for e-commerce, and then we blew the division away because we didn't need it anymore. So separate it when it's young, right? Integrate it when it's older, or sell it. Put it in the greenhouse, right? Just keep it alive. And if you're afraid of new ideas, innovation isn't rocket science. Many innovations affect only one part of the model. Think of contact lenses, huge revolution. We buy them where we used to buy glasses. Same thing with cell phones. We buy them from the same phone companies we used to buy phones from. They have new names, but they're basically the same companies. Travelocity was a registered travel agency. It just sold differently. Apple didn't invent the MP3 player nor the cell phone. They just made them a whole lot better. So you don't have to change everything to have a big, profitable innovation. You have a plan, it's working. That's good. So did travel agents. They aren't here anymore, right? So you have to have a plan B. You constantly have to be experimenting. Kayak.com was just a little different than Travelocity. We offer choice of where you book, right? Created a business we sold for $1.8 billion. I've been on the board of Reardon Commerce. They do business travel. They enforce travel policy. Again, a small change, a big business. I'm on the board of LuxuryLink. We're the only company that auctions hotels on the web. Again, a small model change, creating a nice little profitable company. I'm on the board of Smart Destinations. We bundle attractions together so you can go to Boston and see everything for a reduced price. So you don't have to make a big change. If work make dollars, else go back, do it again. Who reviews ideas? Well, is it somebody in the department or somebody not in the department? People outside the department will many times approve an idea that people inside won't. So many of you have ridden on a regional jet. You walk across the tarmac, you're in the rain. One of our engineers must have been thinking about his diving board at the lake, because he invented that little walk the plank thing that you get now that allows a jet bridge to attach to a regional jet. And he submitted that idea to the maintenance department. They rejected it. They said, we're out here in the rain, the customers should be too, you know? I don't know why they rejected it, but later we got a new program in America that required every idea go to one person in the department and two people not in the department. As soon as marketing and operations saw that idea, they approved it. They said, people love flying on regional jets, they won't get wet. So break the mold, circulate your idea widely. Get it away from the we've always done it this way people. You have a much better chance of new ideas coming to the market. Put your ideas to work. This is the thinker and the doer. The doer left. He's out doing, right? It's not just about thinking. You've got to ship your product. Warren Bennis called the making of the movie Snow White a dream with a deadline. That's what a new idea is. It's a dream with a deadline. Get it done. Ship. And you can do more with less today. That's really what we learned at kayak.com. You know, kayak.com came about because of a dinner between the former head of Travelocity, the former head of Orbitz, the former head of Kayak, the former head of Kayak, Travelocity, Orbitz, excuse me. And we sat down and had dinner, and we said, you know, we have lots of consumers who are getting smarter. First, they're searching Travelocity, Expedia, and Orbitz for price, and then they're going to American and Marriott to buy. Not that any of you ever did that, but millions of people were doing that. So we created kayak.com, where we search everything, but you buy direct. Now, I said more with less. Look at the difference between Travelocity and Kayak. Travelocity has 3,000 people, grew through traditional advertising, uses customer service, they're travel agents, and they're profitable. Kayak went public with only 220 people. If I suddenly stop working. There, 220 people. We grew through search. We don't have customer service. We're a search model, suppliers support us, and we're highly profitable. You can do much more with less today. Yeah, Steve and Steve started Apple in a garage, but Zuck started Facebook in a dorm room. It doesn't take so much. You know, if you think about the traditional way we funded big ideas with big teams, focus groups, big brand, and big iron. And then we moved to VCs and small teams and PowerPoint, usability labs, mini computers, and email. But if you think of how we do it today, well, now we use Kickstarter, right? The team is me. I share space. I don't get an office. I call everything a beta. I use some kind of 3D printer or visualization tool. I crowdsource everything I can. I use social to get customers, and I use BYOD or cloud. That is a startup today. But why can't you and larger companies use those very same tools? You can. Maybe not all of them, but many of them to compete with those two guys and a dog who are out there to eat your lunch. There's more change ahead, folks. You need to do something extraordinary. Do something extraordinary in 2014. You know, some years ago, there was a huge snowstorm in Denver, and that was a time when American only had 2 flights a day to Denver. Denver was owned by United and Continental. And the snowplows came, and they plowed out United, and they took off, and they plowed out Continental, and they took off, and they never plowed out American. And we begged them to come over, and they didn't. So our general manager went out, and he bought a bulldozer, and he dug out the airplane. It took him a day, and it took off. And he charged it on his credit card. And he submitted it as an expense on his expense report. And the CFO went into the office of Bob Crandall, our chairman, and said, you know what Jack Williams did? He bought a bulldozer and dug out the plane in Denver, and he charged it on the expense report. What should I do? And he said, you should make him a vice president. Do something extraordinary this year, because things are going to continue to change. You know, growing up, my son was not the boy genius. He was not the nerd. He was just a kid who liked to play these massively multiplayer video games. And when he was in high school, he and a bunch of kids wrote a game called Day of Defeat about the invasion of Europe, June 6, 1944. That was when he was in high school. By the time he was a sophomore in college, 50,000 people a day were playing his game. And he called me up and he said, Dad, somebody wants to buy the game for $300,000. What should I do? I said, you should sell. You're in college. We need the money. And he did sell. But the cool thing is that game was written by 5 kids from Europe, 5 kids from the US, 1 kid from Canada. They have never met. They created this $300,000 virtual company entirely through email and chat. He is your new employee. He is your new customer. He is your new supplier. will you be innovative enough to keep up with him or her? Let's review. Now, the best way to review is to buy my book. Available wherever books are sold online. But you know, folks, we have to remember that technique follows technology. We don't always know where technology will take us. It takes a while to develop the technique. But we do know we're living in a wired world where information has found its freedom and buyers have more power than they've ever had before. It's a world of speed and convenience. That's what customers are looking for. It's a world where if we're going to be innovative, we have to build the right culture and the right team. That's what puts the gas in the tank of innovation. Build a culture where an idea can exist. Break through the boson layer. Reach down and get those new ideas. Experiment, measure, and you're going to fail. Fail fast. Don't kill people, kill projects. Think about who reviews ideas. Review the idea widely. Get them away from the naysayer. Bring in a bunch of different people to get different views. Have 2 pizza teams. Keep teams small. Some people will leave, that's okay, because one person, good or bad, can make all the difference. Listen in a new way. Go with your gut. Your wake is larger than you imagine. Put your ideas to work. Do more with less. Now with that, I wish I could say I'd cleared the radar screen of business, but the radar screen of business always looks like this. We always have to navigate the storms, and I wish there was a button for innovation on the keyboard, but there's not. And I know you think you have a tough job, and you do. You know, you're worried about the cloud, about the cloud and about big data and about mobile, but you don't have a toughest job. These guys have the toughest job. They're the great Walindas, the world's best wire act. And you know what their mission statement is? You fall, you die. They have the toughest job. You don't have the toughest job. Ronald Reagan said, when we're standing on the edge of the known world, we're standing on the shores of the infinite. That's exactly where you are today, on the shores of the infinite. I spent the last 6 months working with IBM Watson. That's the most exciting computer I've ever seen. It's the first computer in the world that's worth more when it's old than when it's new, because it learns. It's going to totally revolutionize computing once again. We are standing on the shores of the infinite. Folks, change is inevitable. But growth is optional. It's up to you. And I believe with Arthur Clarke that the future is a foreign country. They do things differently there. Thank you very much. Thank you.